I received an email yesterday from former ACT MP, Muriel Newman, who is with the New Zealand Centre for Political Research. She said to us, well done on what you're doing and raising awareness of the iwi takeover. And many of us, she says, are horrified by how far it's gone and how little the coalition government's doing to turn it all around. Of course, they promised they would do things, but they've done nothing. And one area of huge concern is the whole issue of coastal claims. And she says, I well remember you holding Chris Finnis into account over the bill at the time. All his assurances have, of course, turned out to be BS, and we're now facing the prospect of the whole of New Zealand's coastline and territorial sea being delivered into tribal control. Muriel joins me now. Muriel, g'day. Nice to have you on.
Hi, Duncan. Thanks for having me.
Very welcome. It's really I'll just sort of throw a couple of sort of more generic questions at you, but this whole stuff around local council, they're ploughing ahead with this with their agreements with iwi and their deals with iwi and the Three Waters approach, away from the government, who's completely against it. It's almost like they're their own powers within, and they're ignoring any of the public's wishes and ignoring any of the central government's wishes.
You're right, Duncan, but the problem is that the gatekeepers are the councils, and instead of putting their foot down, they're just complying. I mean, I've been looking into this Tūwharetoa management agreement with the Taupō District Council, and when you look into it, it's all very well. I heard your interview with the mayor the other day, and it's all very well for the mayor to say, no, this is not co-governance or anything like that. But when you actually look into the agreement, first of all, it is a co-government agreement with the iwi, so there's a separate sort of unit going to be set up to do that. But when you go further into the agreement, it's starting to talk about, because they've now got this formalised co-governance arrangement with the council, they're starting to talk about the need for cultural competency training of the staff.
Yep.
They're looking at staff secondments to go, and help them to upskill. They're looking at, they mentioned procurement policies, roading and parks and recreation, all that sort of stuff. And what it signals to you is that it's actually co-governance by the flipping back door. And what should be happening is that this current council should be kicking it for touch, because it's the new council that's going to have to implement all of this stuff, and it's the new council that should be the ones that are actually figuring out the detail. They should be finding out exactly how much it's all going to cost, and they should be doing it in consultation with the ratepayers, because they're the ones who are going to have to pay for it all. I mean, I think what's happening is outrageous.
And the fact that they haven't gone for public consultation, even on Thursday when the public, about 60 or 70 people turned up from the members of the public, they were blocked from asking questions. I agree with you. That's arrogant, it's outrageous, it's anti-democratic. I mean, you invite them in, then you tell them to shut up.
Look, it's just appalling. And, they're all making excuses. But the bottom line is, what right has this council got to make such a momentous decision, which will lock the council in for ages, if not forever, when they're on the cusp of being disbanded and a new council elected? They've got no right to do that, and that's what the public should be saying. And the other thing is, it's obviously going to cost a hell of a lot of money for the council to do all the stuff that iwi have got in their wish list there. And so it should be ratepayers that actually have the right to go through and say, no, we don't agree to that. No, we don't agree to that. That one's okay. And so on. They should have a right to do that.
As it is, you watch them what they charge for those wānanga or hui that they'll have with the local iwi. So basically, it's you send your local council staff along to get indoctrinated and to get to have that motivation.
Exactly.
That's all it is, and they will charge you the nose for those workshops. I bet you.
Oh, it ends up at tens of thousands of dollars, and they go further and they say, right, well, the staff, they've got to come on and stay on the marae for a night, and that's God knows how much, and it all adds up. And what it's doing is it's giving the iwi extra authority and presence. I mean, in the agreement, it says that, when the council puts in a submission to the government, they want to be involved as well. So in other words, it's not just the submission from the Taupō District Council anymore, but it's in conjunction with the iwi. They want to be involved in things like the fast-track approval process. So if the council's got to be involved in that, they want to tag along to it, and so on. And they also want to be involved in all economic development proposals and projects. So you can't tell me that it's not flipping co-governance.
It is co-governance.
Exactly.
Then there's that committee
and
that's been...
actually the
then
bottom
there's that
line.
committee, Muriel. Yeah, and the committee that's been set up, there's a committee that's been set up, 50-50 iwi, 50-50 local councillors. So 3 unelected iwi are appointed to this committee, which no one knows what the committee's powers are, but they are basically the powers of sign-off, I think. They're like powers of veto. And you've got unelected iwi sitting on that committee. I just think that New Zealanders need to wake up.
Well, this is the problem, Duncan, that wherever co-governance is, right, and there's a lot of agreements now that are around the place, both in central government and local government. Often it's only seemingly insignificant stuff, but actually a lot of it's got a lot of hidden power. But wherever there's co-governance, the iwi have the right of veto. So you cannot tell me that is not tribal rule. That's what we've blinking well already got in New Zealand. Remember all that stuff about He Puapua, and the end objective was tribal rule by 2040? It's damn well here today.
This is what's continued after the Ardern regime, and this government has failed to stop it. This government is, I don't know if they can even have even seen what's happening in Taupō, but where are they on this? Well, why so silent?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? That, they're doing some local government reforms, aren't they? So, they said, back last year that they were going to get rid of the well-beings out of the Local Government Act. And we all said, good on you. Still hasn't been done. But what they need to do as well as that, they need to stop all of this iwi encroachment in the work of local government. And Taupō has got its own wards, right? So the public are going to have a say on whether they want Maori wards going into the future. A lot of councils have also got iwi advisory committees, and some of those actually are able to vote. It's just incredible. And so there are councils in New Zealand that are now being effectively run by iwi. It is local, it is tribal rule in action. And what we suggest is that the government and their legislation needs to look into all of that, and it needs to put a stop to it. We elected them so that we would not have race-based laws or governance. That's what we've got at the moment. They need to stop it.
Well, it's worse than that, because I think you've now got race-based laws at local council level on steroids. I think it's being aided and abetted by the central government's lack of awareness and lack of doing anything. I mean, I know David Seymour's tried, but there's it's outrageous how silent they are on this.
I've just been looking into, I'm just writing my latest newsletter, and I've been looking into the health system. And when you look at the extent of race-based stuff in, the legislation, it's everywhere. And I've been thinking, they got rid of the Maori Health Authority, right? But to try and get it out of legislation, it's like probably 300 or 400 clauses in this very long act. And the only way to do it, I've concluded, is you have to take race out of legislation, full stop. Other countries have done that. Sweden was the last one to do it. They decided, right, going down the path towards racism is not working. We're going to take it out. It probably took them a couple of years, but they did it. And now you cannot do anything by race in that country, in Belgium, France, Holland. There's a whole heap of them have done it. And so New Zealand needs to do that. It's the only way we'll stop this stuff.
I think it's going to end us. I think that if you look at the people that have moved to Australia in the past couple of years, Muriel, people say it's about the economy. I wonder if it's about race. I seriously wonder if it's not just the economy, that it's about everything else.
I think you're right. I've heard that too. People are saying, oh, well, we'll just pack up and go. But look, it's our country, for goodness sake. We love this country. Why should we give up on it? It's one minority group that is trying to seize control. It's up to the blinking government to damn well do something about it. We elected them to do it, and, they need to. But also, I have to say, if you put your mind back to the last election, the time before Ardern, the Labour government was kicked out, the legacy media were in love with Labour, right? So they were pushing their barrow all the time in the lead up to the election. But what happened was that Kiwis got behind, in a way like a resistance movement, to try to bring awareness to people so they'd understand what was going on. The platform, all these different alternative media sources, they were fantastic. But people themselves did everything they could to raise awareness of the problems and say, look, we need a change in government. Now, what we need to do now is for everybody to mobilise, to raise awareness of what we are doing to this country, so the government has the mandate and the backup from grassroots New Zealanders to do something about it. So I think in a way we're expecting them to take the lead, and they should. That's what they promised. But at the same time, we need all Kiwis to actually get up and make statements like you are, and just tell people what's going on, and then they can join in.
My mates in the legacy media, if there's any mates left there, none of them are doing the story. They're too scared to be called racist. I've been around long enough. I don't give a stuff. I'm just telling it as it is.